Welcome to Friday Conversation, presented by Friday Culture. Today, we are glad to have Mr. Chan Siu Hung, SH, as our guest. SH has worked at CLP Holdings for more than 40 years, and now its senior advisor. He is one of the few LegCo members focusing on energy, environment, and climate change issues. Welcome, SH. The SAR government has earlier announced Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050. What is your comment on that, and how do we synchronize with our efforts with the mainland, which has also pledged to peak its emissions in 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality in 2060? SH.
Hi, Henry. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this dialogue forum. I'm very delighted to have this opportunity talking to you on issues regarding energy, environment, and climate change, which are my favorite subjects. Indeed, the Special Administrative Region government is committed to a climate vision with a proposed action plan to address the climate change. And the government specifically sets a target for the city to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Now, in the plan, the government proposes to allocate a so-called climate budget, which is as much as 240 billion Hong Kong dollars to combat the climate change in the next 15 to 20 years. For example, a steering committee on climate change and carbon neutrality has been set up under the chairmanship of the chief executive to formulate the overall strategy, which is good. And the government said it would soon establish a new office allocated and dedicated to strengthen coordination and promote decarbonization, as well as an advisory committee to encourage public participation, including young people. All of this, in my view, sets out the fundamentals to enabling the intended outcome of the climate action plan.
So how do we synchronize our efforts with the mainland?
Now, first of all, what I want to say, and perhaps Henry, you know very much about that, is Hong Kong is now, and it should be, accelerating the development of the city to catch up with the pace of development by cities surrounding us, namely the Greater Bay Area involving Guangdong, Macau, and Hong Kong. And as you know, we are about to kickstart a lot of infrastructure projects. They are mega projects which include the implementation of the new metropolis in the northern area, the land town tomorrow concept, and there will be massive housing and transport schemes. Now, the question is, can we move ahead with these infrastructure projects in a green, no carbon, and sustainable way?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in this context, Henry, it is beyond doubt that achieving carbon neutrality before 2050 poses great challenges to Hong Kong. With the decarbonization target having been set by the government now, my view is that we will need to do things quite differently from what we have been doing over the past so many decades. So we know the government is now actively pursuing three major strategies. Now, firstly, to replace conventional fossil energy by renewables, and of course, conserving energy. And secondly, promote green commuting. And thirdly, pursue waste minimization, waste recycling, and also waste to energy conversion.
We know energy constitutes 2/3 of our carbon emissions. And in Hong Kong, we rely a lot on nuclear energy. So to achieve this target, do we mean we need to import more nuclear energy? And how do we address the concerns of some people for more use of nuclear?
Right. First of all, when we look at the energy fuel mix, as I said earlier, and we know for sure that Hong Kong is a densely populated city with not many natural local resources. And we buy coal and natural gases from other countries and our mainland. Henry, I'm not sure if our audience know the current fuel mix for power generation in Hong Kong. The electricity produced is 50% from natural gas, 30% from nuclear, and less than 20% from coal, and very small amount of solar energy. And we are proud to see Hong Kong enjoys high reliability of electricity supply with minimum environmental impact and with affordable prices. On nuclear, that's interesting to know, since 1994, Hong Kong has been importing nuclear power from Daya Bay Nuclear Power Station, which is located at Shenzhen. This constitutes to 30% of electricity consumption in Hong Kong.
Right.
And nuclear power produces zero carbon, reliable, with stable prices. Now, back to the question that if Hong Kong is to achieve carbon neutrality, we will need multiple sources of zero carbon power supplies. Renewable energy is definitely the first and foremost choice, but it has limitations, we know. Hong Kong lacks natural renewable resources because of space limitation. Now, in the 14th five-year plan of our country, Henry, there are many new nuclear projects earmarked, and several of them are at Shenzhen. I can see there is opportunity for Hong Kong to utilize nuclear energy from these new projects. However, as you have rightly pointed out, that people's perception and safety concern are still hindrance and constraints to developing new nuclear power projects. But I must say that the new technology, the so-called third generation technology being deployed today, has significantly improved the safety performance of nuclear reactors. And in fact, many countries, including the United States, United Kingdom, and France, they've announced plans to build up new nuclear reactors in a move that could help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The key is to promote the public literacy of nuclear power, and we need more efforts on improving the monitoring of the safety operation of the nuclear power stations.
Back to renewables, I recall that like some 10 years ago, we talked about building wind farms in Hong Kong. If I remember correctly, that was Edward Yao as the Secretary for Environment. And I know government has provided incentives, including higher permitted rate of return for power companies. Why we haven't seen these windmills in Hong Kong, and will we see some of them in the foreseeable future?
Henry, you have a very good memory. And if we recall that the government and the two power companies in the past, they have been reviewing proposals to develop offshore wind farms. And many years ago, when the first study was conducted on the feasibility of offshore wind farm along the Hong Kong coastal areas, it was considered not feasible. At that time, the offshore technology was not mature enough, and the equipment prices were high. Construction work was difficult along the South China Sea, making the offshore wind farm proposal not technically nor economically viable. Nowadays, thanks to the technology advancement and the wider adoption of ethnic design of offshore equipment from the mainland in constructing many offshore wind projects in the South China Sea, now it is expected that improvement in the design of wind farms, the adoption of new technologies, and reduction of equipment and construction costs, all of this can increase the amount of electricity generated as well as the economic benefits. Now, the government estimated that by 2035, the wind energy generated from offshore wind farms would be able to meet around 3.5% to 4% of Hong Kong's electricity demand. I think Hong Kong needs a combination of zero carbon energy choices to meet our needs going forward in order to achieve the 2050 carbon neutrality. Now, as technologies continue to improve, I'm expecting future energy demand will be met by a variety of green and clean energy solutions, which my view is it may include renewable energy onshore and offshore, hydrogen energy, nuclear energy, and also the carbon capture facilities, etc.
Thank you, SH. Finally, as a new electrical member, what are the key targets you would like to achieve in the next 4 years?
Well, I'm fortunate to be elected a member of the Legislative Council based on the Election Committee constituency. Now, under the National Security Law, and with the improved electoral system, the new term of the council is expecting to improve the working relationship with the government officials. We should move on. Hong Kong has been lacking from our neighboring cities in Guangdong and is falling behind from Singapore. So it's time for us to catch up and to do it as quickly as possible. I'm expecting the new government, under the leadership of our Mr. John Lee, who is now the only chief executive candidate choice, will work with a result-driven approach. This is as what John advocates, and improve the government's governance capability. I believe in the urgent need to change the culture of some of our government service from a regulatory, protective, and reactive mode to also include a facilitation, proactive mode under fair and impartial principles, while not compromising procedural justice, quality, environmental, and safety. Of course, one of my clear roles is to play as a legislator is to monitor the administration of the Hong Kong SAR government to improve its governance capabilities and scrutinize the public budget to make sure value for money public spending. Now, other than that, more specifically, I'll drive the accelerated development of green and smart infrastructure projects with innovative technological applications, such as the applications of BIM, which stands for Building Information Modeling, MIC, the Modular Integrated Construction, AI, Artificial Intelligence, and also Big Data. And I'll push for the establishment of a digital government and community to ensure a smooth transition of Hong Kong into a smart city. I'll also promote net zero carbon energy application, of course, electricity generation and usage, transportation, buildings management, and also to promote energy saving and smart application in the community.
Thank you.
Now, Henry, very importantly, I'm keen to work with the government and the community to nurture the awareness of the younger generation in green and smart city, to promote widespread knowledge in relevant industry, and to build a talent pool to advance Hong Kong's green economy.
Okay, thank you very much, SH. That's the end of today's Friday Conversation. Please share, like, and subscribe our Friday Everyday channel. I'm Henry Ho. See you next time.